Okay, so welcome back, everyone, officially. Good expression there. Thanks for that, Lynn. If you need to leave, just leave whenever you need to. We'll dive into today's daily quote and the teaching around that, and then there's a lesson and some text. So we'll see if we can do all of that. I don't have a time limit today. So let me share my screen. You. Okay, so all right. So anyone, if you can read that headline quote for today from Tony Robbins. It is
It is,
today. Get off.
it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped.
Hmm. A profound quote, actually. So it's one of the world's best known motivational speakers. You've probably heard of Tony Robbins, spoken in front of audiences of thousands of people. I went to one of his seminars in London, actually, about 10 years ago now. Well, I think it was 10 years ago, actually, 2014. So he's telling us of the power that you have to shape your destiny in every moment. After all, if your decisions lead to you speaking words and taking actions that have consequences, and these consequences form the sequence of events that make up your life experience and set in motion future events that will become present experiences in time, then it must be that your decisions are the key to shaping your future life experiences, or what Tony Robbins calls your destiny. So destiny is nothing more than the product of our decisions, which can be fundamentally changed from a fear-based foundation to a love-based one at any moment. In this world, we're called on to make decisions all the time, so you can't avoid making decisions while you're still seemingly in this dualistic reality where there seem to be the opposing thought systems of fear and love to choose between. In fact, the word decision stems from the root Latin words de and cidere, that mean to cut away. So you must literally cut away or let go of one of these options to choose the other. That's what decision means. So therefore, your primary responsibility to your higher self and everyone else is to use this power wisely to choose loving thoughts, emotions, words, and actions that create an experience of peace, love, and joy for yourself and others, no matter what may arise to tempt you to choose fear. That may include work pressures, conflicts in relationships, financial worries, and anything else that seems to stress you in this world. Stress is really just fear by another name, because all stress is the perception of some form of external threat, even if that's only a perceived threat to your expectations being fulfilled. So you see why we experience stress, because we have expectation, and the expectation we fear may be violated. And the more we attach to the outcome of that expectation, the more likely we are to experience stress. So today's lesson is designed to help you to shape your destiny moment by moment and decision by decision. So that leads us very nicely into the lesson, which lesson 152 it is. So let's dive into that in the document. Where are we? Lesson 152. There we go. Okay, so Elaine, if you can read that, very simple one without translation required today, and then read it in the alternative, not much to translate. So,
The power of decision is my own.
okay, so very, very simple, but very powerful quote, very, very powerful idea. right? I have the power of decision, and that's my own. And you know, in truth, if you look at any spiritual teaching that is authentic, what that teaching is really saying is that you have the choice to perceive whatever happens in this world, however you choose. So what you can't control the events and circumstances of this world, but you always have the choice to make a decision about how you will perceive it. And that's really absolutely fundamental to any spiritual teaching. So the power of decision is your own. You have this power, you use it wisely. You can also use it unwisely. The ego is going to use that power of decision unwisely to bind your mind into its illusion of being a separate self. But you always have the choice to change your mind. You could perceive it differently. And so it's a very, very fundamental idea to practicing this whole course, that right now I have a choice in this present moment. You know, I can choose differently. I can choose love instead of fear right now, and then the Holy Spirit will guide you as to how that choice looks. So like yesterday, I had a little bit of an upset, went into the toilet, took a few moments, and I was like, okay, so I have a choice here. You know, the power of decision is my own. I can make a different choice. I chose love, and I went back out, and you know, that choice then caused me to change my mind about what I was going to do, and the evening went very differently than what it would if I'd listened to the ego. And so we always have that choice. It's just reminding ourselves in the moment of that choice. When we are tempted by the ego to misuse the power of decision, it's reminding ourselves, I have a choice here, and I can choose love instead of fear. And then, you know, with that understanding, we're inviting the Holy Spirit, which is the remembrance of that love, that loving awareness, to come in and make a different choice. And we always do have that choice. The ego will try and deny that, but there is always a choice as to how you're going to perceive, and therefore how you're going to speak and how you're going to act, because your words and your actions come from your perceptions. Okay, so having said that, let's go into what Yeshua's going to say about it. So, Elaine, if you can read number 1, paragraph 1 in the alternative kindly for us.
I cannot suffer loss unless it is my own decision to do so. I do not suffer pain except when I choose this state. I cannot grieve, fear, or be sick unless these are the outcomes that I want. And I do not die without my own consent. Nothing occurs that does not represent my wish, and nothing is omitted that I choose. Here is my world, complete in all details. Here is the holy reality for me, and it is only here that I can awaken. So it's just saying that we have a choice. We don't have to suffer pain. We choose our own state. We don't have to grieve or fear or be sick. And we die on our own consent.
Yeah, so no matter what's happening in the illusion of the world, we have a choice. We don't have to believe what's been shown to us. Someone may have died, but we don't have to grieve if we don't choose to. If we grieve, we're making the death real. If we choose not to grieve, then we're denying death and allowing our true awareness again to come to the fore. And so we always have a choice, no matter what seems to happen. And that's really where our power lies. You know, our true power, the power of choice. The one thing you can do in an insane world that's been set up to seemingly show the reality of the ego is you can make a different choice. And he's just highlighting it, saying, everything is actually your own choice, even death. I will not die without my own consent. People say, well, I'm not choosing to die. But if you believe in your separate self and you continue to believe in the ego, then, which is a death wish, then you are choosing to die. That's what he's saying. You just don't know that you're choosing to do that. Whenever you have an egoic thought and you believe that and you speak or act on that, you're choosing to die. So it's giving us a very kind of all-encompassing view of this. Here is the reality. Here's the truth of how this world really works. It's all a choice, and everything that seems to happen here, all the grief and fear, death, is actually your choice. It's only by realizing this that I can awaken. Because this is claiming 100% responsibility. We've all studied the Ho'oponopono. It says, take 100% responsibility. What does that mean? It means I'm 100% responsible for whatever's happening in my life because I made a choice at a meta level, a higher level, to be a separate self. So let's look at it diagrammatically. Actually, that'd be helpful. It's quite a key point. Most people struggle with this because we go, well, on the level of form, I'm not responsible. I didn't choose to die. I didn't choose to do that. It's not really my responsibility. So, why all these painful things happening? But on another level, a higher level, we have to recognize that I'm responsible because I chose to be a separate self. And therefore, everything that comes from that belief in separation and the separate self must have been my choice. So I'm now experiencing the accusation and blame and attack of the ego. I'm experiencing sickness and pain and suffering and death in whatever way, shape, or form the ego has invented it. I'm responsible for that because I chose to separate from my source. That's where the 100% responsibility comes in, and also where your awakening comes in. Because at that point, you can say, well, I can make another choice now. I don't have to keep choosing to believe in this illusion. I can choose to let it go and become aware of the truth, the pure formless oneness of perfect love that is still there. And in facing the situation with that awareness, then I'm forgiving it. Then I'm awakening. I'm undoing the dream of death and disaster as it shows up in my experience. And I'm confronting the ego directly. We talked about facing the ego in our expression session. I'm facing it down and I'm making a choice moment by moment to undo the entire thought system of separation that has manifested in this particular situation that seems to be triggering. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
John? Happy with that?
Good.
So if you can read number 2, were you able to read, John? Or? You're muted, by the way. I don't know what happened there. You unmuted briefly.
Yeah. No, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can read paragraph 2.
I may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true. Yet can truth have exceptions? If I have the gift of everything, can loss be real? Can pain be part of peace or grief of joy? Can fear and sickness enter in a mind where love and perfect innocence are present? Truth must be all-inclusive to be the truth at all. I accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what's he saying here?
A very non-dual paragraph.
Mm.
If truth is true, then there are no exceptions. If if I cannot suffer pain, then there is no pain that I can suffer. There are no exceptions. And there is no sickness.
Yeah. So some people say this is a very hardline position. It's too radical, it's too hardcore. But he's pointing out the obvious implication. If truth has an opposite, if there's something else than truth, then you've denied the truth. You've said there's something else, which now seems to be true instead of the truth. But to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. So I mentioned that conversation I once had with the adherent of the alternative school of non-duality. And he's going, well, you can have the illusion and you can have the truth. Why can't you have both? It's because the illusion contradicts the truth entirely. They contradict each other. You can't reconcile them. So you must choose. But most people don't want to see this. He was under the illusion that he could have both and somehow make that thought system work and still awaken. Well, all you've done is split your mind. You've got a fundamental contradiction, which you're just not willing to look at, and you can't expect any kind of inner peace if your mind is fundamentally split like that. So we must make this this choice for the truth and only the truth, and make no exceptions. Well, of course, the ego it tempts us to make the exceptions. The ego is the apparent exception to the truth, and it's invented an entire world to make an exception to the truth. And it's constantly tempting us to make exceptions to the truth, because that's the way it maintains its existence. But to get out of it, we must be firm and make no exceptions, and not give the ego any reality at all. If you make an exception to the truth, then you make the ego real. That's what he's saying. Contradict the truth entirely, and then you're believing in the contradiction of the truth rather than the truth, if you're in that mindset. Okay, so I think that's fairly clear, very clear. And Elaine, you happy with that? We can go on to number 3.
Yeah. Awakening is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. This I have heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Without the first, the second has no meaning. But without the second, the first is no longer true. Truth cannot have an opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about, for if what is not true is true, as well as what is true, then part of truth is false, and truth has lost its meaning. Nothing but the truth is true, and what is false is false.
Yeah, brilliant paragraph, really. I mean, so clear. This is such a clear statement of the non-dual position of this course. That it is stated so clearly and succinctly. How can you not understand? He's making it absolutely explicit and understandable, and wholly logical. What he's saying is pure logic, isn't it? At its highest level. The truth is true and nothing else is true. Both statements must hold in order for the truth to be true. If you think something else is true, then you deny the first statement, and then the first statement is no longer true for you. What we've tried to do, the egos, is we've tried to make both the truth and the illusion true. And we can't do that because they contradict each other. And so the ego just doesn't want to see that dilemma clearly. it fudges and says, no, you don't have to make a choice between these things. You can carry on, believing what is fundamentally irreconcilable and somehow make that work. Whereas this teaching says, no, you can't. You've got to see it very clearly that, the thought system of truth and of illusion do not reconcile at all. And you must choose one without exception. You must choose the truth without exception in order to awaken. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. Any other thoughts on that?
No, that's clear.
Okay.
That's good.
Number 4.
This is the simplest of distinctions, yet the most obscure, but not because it is a difficult distinction to perceive. It is concealed behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely my own. And so the truth appears to have some aspects that deny consistency, but do not seem to be only contradictions introduced by me.
It's no merely there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's he saying there?
We're saying it's a simple statement, but one that's actually difficult to really get to the bottom of. Because it's a simple truth that needs to be lived through many moments and many choices.
Yeah. The ego's world is designed to obscure this. To even the most, that chap that I spoke to, I think he was sincere. He'd searched for the truth, but the ego had blinded him, it confused him, and said, well, you can have form and you can have illusion. He was into tantra and the body, and he was talking about the pleasure of sex and stuff. And because on some level his mind desired that, then he came up with a belief system that matched that allowed him to have that, rather than just sticking to the simple non-dual truth and saying, well, actually the body and nothing in the body really means anything. Pleasure, sex, it's all meaningless because it's all false and it's all going to die. So why am I valuing this, over the eternal truth? So it means you have to then give up, a pleasure of the ego. But that pleasure is just attaching you to the body and to the dream of death. This is what Yeshua's trying to teach us. It's like, this isn't helping you. It's not helpful. It's going to make you suffer, inevitably. So the choice plays out, in these forms, and we have to see that and make the correct choice as it plays out in the world and in our perception of life and people and events and circumstances in this world, which is where it gets, can get very confusing and tricky. But if you hold to these principles, then the Holy Spirit guides you as to the correct choice to make, and you start seeing through the falsity. And at that point, it was a few years ago, but I'd had enough mind training to go, no, what he's saying just doesn't stack up. It doesn't work. And so I can't actually work with this guy. It was actually a business conversation, interestingly, that we had. And then it was very clear that, philosophically, we were poles apart. He believed in duality and I was coming from the non-dual standpoint. Well, we weren't going to be able to work together because our thinking and our strategies would be very different. It was very interesting because it was about currency and alternative currency, and his idea was we need multiple different currencies, many different alternative currencies, cryptocurrencies, and I was like, but that's just more separation. We need one currency that unite the power as in one, and then everyone uses the same currency. then that's a unifying factor, and it makes that currency more and more powerful, the more people that use it. So it was oneness versus separation, and you know, philosophically, we couldn't reconcile. So I was like, okay, well, you know, thanks for your time, but I think let's leave it there. So the Holy Spirit then guided me, as you know, to the decision to make. So that's how then this plays out in real terms in this world. Like, okay, well, this, you know, it's a choice. I could have, if I believed in his philosophy, I might have said, okay, well, let's try work together, because he had a lot of knowledge about, you know, alternative currencies and cryptocurrencies and so on. But you know, philosophically, we couldn't. So that was one example of how this plays out. All right, so can we move on to number 5? Let's read number 5. It's Elaine.
Yeah. As pure formless awareness, perfect love extends me. I must remain unchangeable, with transitory states by definition false. And that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations in conditions of the body and the mind, and in all awarenesses and response. This is the all-inclusive which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what they both really are.
Right.
Just saying,
Thoughts
while
on
this perfect what love extends us, we remain unchangeable. And any transitory states are false. And this includes all the shifts and feelings and conditions of the body and the mind. And in all awareness and response. So it's setting the truth apart from falsehood, while the false kept separation from the truth is what they both really are, just total opposites. Yeah.
Yeah, so stating the non-dual position again. And it's mind-blowing. What he's saying is everything that you've believed, you've thought that is true and real in this world, in your life, is not. It's false. You've been dreaming. You've been living in a dream world, as you know, Morpheus says to Neo when he wakes up. You've been living in a dream world, Neo. Everything that you thought there was real, the life you thought you had, all of your thoughts, your emotions, all false. Just dreaming a dream of a separate self in a separate world. And none of it was true. So completely mind-blowing for the ego. Just absolutely blows the ego's mind into non-existence. Yeah, just in a few paragraphs here. If you just follow the truth in these 5 paragraphs so far, you know, it absolutely undoes the ego. That's the power of these lessons. Okay, so number 6, God just will be pure formless awareness of perfect love. Otherwise, and hymns and so on will be translated. So just reading the alternative. John?
Is it not strange that I believe to think I made the world I see as arrogance? Pure formless awareness of perfect love did not make it. I can be sure of this. What can it know of the ephemeral, the sinful and the guilty, the afraid, the suffering and lonely, and the awareness that seems to live within a body that must die? I accuse it of insanity to think it made a world where such things seem to have reality. It is not mad, yet only madness makes a world like this.
Yeah. Okay, comments on that? You're muted again, John.
Yeah. No, he's saying that to think that spirit made the world is silly because spirit wouldn't have made well, such a faulty system. And it's kind of foolish to go down that route, because why would spirit have made a body that then died?
Yeah, exactly. Why would, eternal life make up an illusion that dies? And this is the problem with all traditional religions. They haven't resolved this question. God is supposedly eternal and it's eternal life and God is love, but then God made the world which in which everything dies, everything suffers and everything dies. Well, you have a fundamental contradiction in terms. God is love, but God's creation is certainly not love. So, one of those statements must be true and the other must be false. And, it's only this kind of, it's really simple logic, isn't it? This isn't rocket science. It's just looking at it honestly and saying, well, if you look at it with pure logic, you can see that, you can't reconcile the idea of a loving God and the idea that God made this world. These are irreconcilable ideas. One of them must be true and the other must be false. And I think this was really Yeshua's genius. He just saw this very clearly. Maybe the first person in history to really see it in its entirety, this dilemma, and the only way out of the dilemma was the pure logic that then said, well, if God is love, and I believe that, and I know that to be true in my heart, then the idea that God created the world must be false. Okay, then the world must be false. This must be an illusory world, which God had nothing to do with. That's the application of this logic into the philosophical underpinnings of this teaching. Do you see that? Pure logic dictates that, because that's the only logical solution to the dilemma of God is love, but God apparently created the world that's full of pain and suffering and sickness and death. A purely logical approach like this solves the dilemma, but that solution is so radical that the ego doesn't want to accept it. That's the problem. The ego says, no, I can't accept that. God must have created the world because I want the world to be real. I want my body and everything that my body perceives and everything I value here. I want it to be real. So therefore, I'll make God create the world. I'll make up a God that apparently has created the world, but then that God is very flawed. That God is a dualistic God. But that's okay because I'll just make it up and I'll believe in that because that's what I want to believe in. But it doesn't make any of that true. It just makes it a mad belief. And that's the position of most religions and spiritual teachings that are dualistic. Well, people have chosen to believe that because it's convenient. That's what the ego wants. But it's not the truth. So fortunately, thank God, he's teaching us the truth. When you read words as clear as this, well, thank God someone's actually telling it like it is and telling us straight, because I've been trying to figure this paradox out my whole life and I haven't really got anywhere. So finally someone's just giving it to us straight and then giving us the way out based on this teaching. Philosophically, we have the way out, which is forgiveness or letting go of all of our attachment to this false world. That's the way out. So, but if you don't believe in the philosophy, then the way out, the letting go, won't make sense to you, and then you won't do it, and then you remain trapped forever in this hell of the ego's madness. Okay, so happy to go on to number 7. I think read to translate here. So read this in the original, one of you, and then the other read it in the alternative. I think it's Elaine, if you read in the original, then John reads in the alternative.
Yeah. To think that God made chaos contradicts his will, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life. All this is arrogance.
To think that pure formless awareness of perfect love made chaos contradicts its awareness, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life. All this is arrogance.
Humility would see at once these things are not of him.
Humility would perceive at once these things do not come from perfect love.
And can you see what God created not?
And can I really perceive what pure formless awareness of perfect love did not extend?
To think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what God willed not to be.
To think I can is merely to believe I can perceive what pure formless awareness of perfect love did not will to exist.
And what could be more arrogant than this?
And what could be more arrogant than this?
And then from the top, John, in the alternative.
To think that pure formless awareness of perfect love made chaos, contradicts its awareness, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life, all this is arrogance. Humility would perceive at once these things do not come from perfect love. And can I really perceive what pure formless awareness of perfect love did not extend? To think I can is merely to believe I can perceive what pure formless awareness of perfect love did not will to exist. And what could be more arrogant than this?
Okay, thoughts on that?
Well, it's kind of elaborating on the same theme, that to believe that pure love made the sort of things that we suffer is ridiculous, and that it's actually arrogant. And proper humility is to see that these such things, such the suffering of the illusion does not come from perfect.
Yeah, they cannot be real. But our arrogance is, well, we want it so we'll make it so, and we'll invent a belief system and a God to suit. And that's what we've done in most of the dualistic belief systems, traditional religions. We've made it up as we want it to be, but it doesn't make sense. There's a fundamental contradiction in every one of those. And that contradiction can be simply stated as, well, if God is love, then how can there be so much pain and suffering and misery and death in the world? How can a loving God have created this? That's the contradiction, isn't it? And formal religions, dualistic teachings don't answer that contradiction. They say, well, God works in mysterious ways and we can't really understand this, and somehow comforts us with some kind of mysterious, there's a great mystery to this. We just don't understand it. And Yeshua's saying, no, there's no great mystery at all. This is actually really simple and understandable. If you will see it clearly, you can get over your own attachment to your ego. You see clearly that this must be just a delusion, that you're in insanity. This whole thing is a departure from God and has nothing to do with God whatsoever. So don't blame God for this. This is your own self-created mess, which fortunately then you can undo. You don't have to continue believing in this. That's then your awakening from the dream. And so because you got into it with your own false thoughts, you can get out of it by denying those thoughts. So then there's a way out. There's something you can actually do to awaken from this nightmare that you've seemingly condemned yourself into. And that's very simple to do. You just got to keep making the choice against the illusion and for the truth. There's no great mystery. There's nothing that's, one day going to be understood. That just keeps the ego's system intact. It's just understand it now. That's what he's trying to do with all these lessons. So the Course doesn't, although people would call this mystic, there's no mystery. It's actually just pure logic, really. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Which I love. I mean, I'm fairly logical. I'm like, okay, that's just high level, pure, rigorous logic without fudging it. And that is actually the truth. And if you hold to that, then you'll awaken. And if you want to fudge it and you don't want to see the pure logic of it, then you deceive yourself, and then you have to try and find a way to reconcile the irreconcilable, try and find a way within the dualistic thought system of the ego to somehow find peace and happiness and joy and eternal life, and you never will. It's just saying, well, you've failed consistently to do that. Surely it's time to wake up and go, well, I've failed. My thought system hasn't worked to make me happy or anyone happy. Pain, suffering, misery, and death still seem to be a very big part of this world and this reality. Okay, so this takes true humility, which is what he's saying. So he builds on that theme in the next one. So let's read that in an alternative. The only translation here is going to be Father and Son becomes source and its extension. That's John.
Yeah. Today, let me today be truly humble and accept what I have made as what it is. The power of decision is my own. I decide to accept only my rightful place as one with the reality of perfect love, and all I think I made will ultimately disappear. What rises to my awareness then will be all that there ever was, eternally as it is now. And it will take the place of self-deceptions made only to cover over the foundation of the source and its extension. So he's imploring us here to accept the truth and see that the illusion is our own creation, and accept that it's our responsibility and that we can see things differently.
Just read, let's read this in the original and the alternatives. A couple of translations here that are significant. So from number 2, Elaine, if you can read that. Power of decision is from number 3. Decide but to accept your rightful place.
Decide but to accept your rightful place as a co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear.
I decide to accept only my rightful place as one with the reality of perfect love, and all I think I made will ultimately disappear.
What rises to...
I've translated the co-creator of the universe. This can be quite confusing in the Course, because he uses universe a few times, and he uses with a small u. Well, they have spelt it with a small u. But actually what he's referring to is the universe of truth, true reality. So the way I translate that is, my rightful place as one co-creator of the universe is one with the reality of perfect love. And what I think I made will ultimately disappear. So that really should be capitalized. It would eliminate a lot of confusion in the Course, because he uses the word universe a number of times, And most people think of it as the physical universe of time and space. Well, if you think of it in those terms, it won't make sense, will you? Will it?
Right.
So the translation then makes it into reality with a capital R, indicating that it's actually beyond. It's the opposite of this physical universe. So hence, the translation, the capitalization, just clarify that, because a lot of course students get confused with concepts like that, because it is confusing. They've used a small u when actually what it's referring to is another reality, so it should be capitalized. Okay, so just wanted to point that out, and then read number 5, Elaine in the original and John in the alternative.
And it will take the place of self-deceptions made but to usurp the altar to the Father and the Son.
And it will take the place of self-deceptions made only to cover over the foundation of the source and its extension.
Yeah, so that hopefully makes a bit more sense. The altar is the foundation of your mind, of your awareness. Father is the source of that awareness, and its extension, both of which exist in your mind. And when I had that sort of mystic experience after 9 days of meditation, this became very, very clear that these self-deceptions were just made to cover over that foundation, that awareness that I'd been in. When I came back into some awareness of the body and the world, and I was able to think, it was abundantly clear that this entire world was just a deception, and everything in this world was designed to trigger the thoughts and emotions that just covered over that awareness that I'd just been in. And that was quite sad. I cried. I was like, I can't believe I've done that, because I recognized that I'd done it to myself. And it was a very stupid thing to do. So he's just making the same point here. The self-deceptions that we've made to cover over the foundation of the source and its extension. That's the world as we perceive it. That's projected out of our minds, and that's all the thoughts and emotions that the world seems to justify. That's the cover or the veil of illusion that covers over the foundation of this eternal awareness that is the truth. And I was like, I get it. Like experientially in that moment, I was like, I understand, what he's saying in the course. It all just kind of dropped in. And then when you read words like this, you go, well, he's been saying this all the time. I just didn't have the experience to match it. But he's saying it very, very clearly here. Will take the place of self-deceptions made to cover that awareness, that foundation of our mind, of our life, that is our fundamental awareness. The world is just covering that over, and was designed to do that and only that. With that perspective on the world, then the only thing to do would be to forgive it, isn't it? If you understood this clearly, then there's only one solution, and that's to forgive or to let go of everything in the world. All of your beliefs about the world must then be questioned and ultimately undone, if this is true. So the metaphysics dictates the solution, and the more you follow the solution, the actual practice of forgiveness, the more the metaphysics make sense. That's how it works. You don't fully understand the metaphysics, but if you can accept conceptually that it's true, and then you start applying the results of that, which is forgiveness, you start to see through your forgiveness more and more that it is true, and that the awareness of truth comes more and more into your mind. So forgiveness is the practice of truth. You practice things so that you come more and more into the awareness of truth. Does that make sense? And he's saying that's the only way you're going to do it. You're ever going to awaken from your dream of death and disaster. Okay, so happy to go on to number 9. Let's read that until number 3. Just number 3 in both. And I'll stop you there. So, is this Elaine reading? Elaine, if you can read it. Okay, Elaine, are you there? No?
Oh, yes, I am. Could you ask John to take it over? Sorry, yeah, if John could have, can you
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
It's just one of my dogs had an accident. I'll have to clean it up.
Right.
Right. Sorry.
Okay.
Today I practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the belief in separation. Oh, haven't we just done this one?
No,
Okay.
it's a different one.
Today I practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the belief in separation seeks to prove humility is arrogant. Only the belief in separation can be arrogant. But
Yeah, I'll read
truth,
this. I'll read this. Sorry, I just want to read number 3 in the original and the alternative. So, but truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, and its eternal wholeness, all-encompassing God's perfect gift to his beloved Son.
but truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, and its external wholeness, all-encompassing perfect love's gift to its beloved extension.
Yeah, let's just change this up. So its changelessness and its eternal, all-encompassing wholeness. Put that over there, sure. It's eternal, the comma there. Love's gift to its beloved extension, all-encompassing wholeness. Yep. Did you read number 4 as well?
I'll do it again. The arrogance has been perceived.
I let go of the arrogance.
I let go of the arrogance which says that I am a sinner, guilty and afraid and ashamed of what I am, and lift my heart in true humility instead to pure forms of awareness of perfect love, which has created me immaculate, like itself in power and love.
Okay, and then just I think read that from the top in the alternative.
We've got a number 5 missing here, I think. I don't know where
Have we?
else. Well, in the original, no. No.
No, it isn't 5. It's just 4. It's a long sentence.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
A long sentence. Yeah, so just read it from the top there.
Today I practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the belief in separation seeks to prove humility is arrogant. Only the belief in separation can be arrogant. Truth is humble in acknowledging its power, its changelessness, and its eternal, all-encompassing wholeness, perfect love's perfect gift to its beloved extension. I let go of the arrogance which says that I am a sinner, guilty, afraid, and ashamed of what I am, and lift my heart in true humility instead, the pure form's awareness of perfect love, which has created me immaculate and like itself in power and love.
Hmm. Okay, so thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's encouraging us to see through the illusion and to see truth in its in as it is, which is not arrogant. It's just oneness. It's simple. It is in its all-encompassing wholeness.
Hmm.
And
Turns it around, says, you know, these thought systems that believe that sin is real. You know, think of the traditional religions, Catholicism, Judaism. You know, Yeshua came into the Judaic religion that was very much about, you know, you're a sinner, you're guilty. And he came to say that's all nonsense. That's just not true. It's arrogance to believe that when you are pure formless awareness of perfect love, you created innocent and holy. Complete arrogance to believe that you're a sinner. And the ego crucified him for that. Said you're a blasphemer, and we're going to kill you. When he was just pointing out the truth. But it was a truth that the ego doesn't want to know. So, you know, kill the messenger then, because we don't want to know the truth. We want to maintain this fixed belief in sin and guilt, because that keeps the ego intact. And he challenged that directly, and he showed, you know, through his healings, the power of that. So he always healed by saying, your sins are forgiven you. And, you know, people were healing left, right, and center. And that, you know, that whole thought system, the Jewish religion was being seriously threatened. And so they killed him to preserve the illusion of its apparent integrity. And then, of course, then he resurrected. It's like, okay, well, that just kind of proves the case, doesn't it? That actually, even death can't kill the truth. The truth is eternal and transcendent of anything that the ego can do to try and sabotage it. Which is why that, you know, his life and the final drama of it, the crucifixion, the resurrection, are so significant, because it's a demonstration of the power of love to overcome the darkness of the ego. No matter what the ego tried to do, it couldn't prevent the truth from coming manifesting through this channel that it had chosen, Yeshua the Christ. Okay, so okay, to move on to number 10.
Yeah.
I think that's read a bit to translate here. So you can read that in the original and the alternative. Elaine, are you back? Can you read, or are you
Yeah.
still
Oh, yes.
dog?
Do
Okay,
you want me to
so
ring the original?
John, if you can read the original, and then Elaine the alternative.
The power of decision is our own,
The power of decision is my own,
and we accept of him that which we are, and humbly recognize the Son of God.
and I accept of my source what I truly am, and humbly recognize the extension of perfect love.
To recognize God's Son implies as well that all self-concepts have been laid aside and recognized as false.
To recognize perfect love's extension implies as well that I have let go of all self-concepts and recognize them as false.
Their arrogance has been perceived.
I perceived their arrogance.
And in humility, the radiance of God's Son, his gentleness, his perfect sinlessness, his Father's love, his right to heaven and release from hell are joyously accepted as our own.
I have perceived their arrogance. And in humility, I joyously accept as my own the radiance of perfect love's extension, its gentleness, its perfect innocence, its source is love, and my right to the state of pure formless awareness and release from victimhood and suffering.
Yeah. And then from the top, Elaine, and the alternative.
Yeah. The power of decision is my own, and I accept what I truly am from my source and humbly recognize the extension of perfect love. To recognize perfect love's extension implies as well that I have let go of all self-concepts and recognize them as false. I have perceived their arrogance, and in humility I joyously accept the radiance of perfect love's extension as my own. Its gentleness, its perfect innocence, its source is love, and my right to the state of pure formless awareness and release from victimhood and suffering. It's just saying that the decision is our own. We can accept the true who we are from our source and to recognize perfect love's extension. It implies that we have to let go of all our self-concepts and falsity because they're arrogant. So we, in our humility, accept perfect love's extension as our own. And in that there's gentleness, innocence, love, and takes us to the state of pure formless awareness. And there we release from our victimhood and suffering.
See why you can't reconcile these thought systems, because Yeshua stood for so clearly for this perfect innocence, and he showed the power of that. And the Sanhedrin, who were attached to the ego's belief in sin and guilt, said he's the most arrogant. He's completely arrogant, and who is he to claim this, and put him to death for this apparent blasphemy. When in fact they were the blasphemers. They were the ones who were arrogant in their denial of God, clinging to their own false beliefs in sin and guilt, and not seeing the truth that was being demonstrated before them of perfect oneness that manifested in and through him so demonstrably and so powerfully. And so there you see the split. You can't reconcile them. They're irreconcilable. That's part of the message of the crucifixion. You must choose which thought system you're going to believe in. And by his resurrection, he demonstrated which one is true, which one ultimately, won the day was truth, because he resurrected, and nothing they could do to stop that meant anything. They couldn't prevent the power of God from coming into the world and demonstrating the truth, which is why then the Christian religion was founded on that truth, on the truth of an eternal loving awareness that transcended death. And then of course the ego, being what it is, comes back and it comes back into that religion as the belief in original sin, and that we're all born into sin, and that we're guilty, and that was never what he taught at all. That belief is just false and arrogant. Okay, so happy to go on to number 11. So if you can read that in the alternative.
Now I join in glad acknowledgement that lies are false and only truth is true. I think of truth alone when I wake up this morning and spend 5 minutes practicing its ways, encouraging my frightened mind with this. Power of decision is my own. Today I accept myself as what my source's awareness extends me to be.
Let's make a capital self. So the translation is, this day I will accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. I accept myself as what my source of awareness extends me to be. In the alternative. Okay, carry on, number 5.
Then I wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions, as I humbly ask myself to reveal itself to me. And this presence, which never left, will come again into my awareness, grateful to restore me to my true home in pure formless awareness and perfect love, as it was meant to be.
Let me make that is meant to be, as it is meant to be. And so it is. Okay, so thoughts on that?
Well, it's just talking about the lesson of the day, really, and going back to the power of decision is my own.
It's you could almost say this lesson encompasses the entire teaching, because he's bringing it down to, well, it's a decision, it's a choice. You have a choice to accept yourself as you are, and that plays out in every moment as your ability to let go of what's false and accept, the deeper truth. Or you have the choice to believe in the ego and believe in a separate self in this world, and that choice is continuously being made, whether you like it or not. You're making that choice. You can't help but choose. So he's saying, well, we'll make this choice conscious. Understand, what the options are, so that you can make a better choice. And if you keep choosing, then choosing right, you'll find your way out of the dream. That's the only way out, through the power of exercising the power of decision wisely. Will help you to escape the whole dream. If you use decision unwisely, you only have to look at the world. You have to look at the disasters people experience and they get themselves into. You see, the product of unwise decisions all the time. So it should be self-evident, that this power of decision needs to be used wisely with the guidance of your true self, which is how you experience this pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's downloaded into your awareness through the self. So we'll look at that quickly. Holy Trinity ideas, that this top level awareness comes into your awareness as the self or the Christ, and then allows you to perceive everything in this world correctly. And those corrections, when you are letting go of the ego's interpretation and you are allowing this higher awareness to come in, that's where the healing happens. That's the correction of your mind that this course is bringing about, moment by moment. So, as he says, it's a very practical course, and it's a very simple course. If you really understand it, it just requires a lot of discipline to practice it continuously through the day. Recognize that in every moment you're actually making the choice for truth or illusion, for heaven or hell, moment by moment. That sort of brings a meaning and a purpose and a significance to your life that is otherwise missing, isn't it? It's like actually every moment I'm deciding for my salvation, my awakening, or my damnation. In this moment, I'm deciding, depending on what I choose. And I choose through the way I perceive this particular situation that I happen to be in right now. So it becomes a very, very practical, real, livable course. You understand this and how practical it actually is, moment by moment. Okay. And just one more. Let's read this in the original and the alternative. So just switch it.
In patience, wait for him throughout the day, and hourly invite him with the words with which the day began, concluding it with this same invitation to yourself.
Elaine, if you can read the alternative.
In patience, wait for him throughout the day and hourly invite him with the words with which the day began, concluding it with this same invitation to yourself.
Yeah, you were reading the alternative, not the original.
Oh, sorry.
Never mind. Largely the same, to myself. In patience, I wait for this present. Well, just start again. Patience, I wait for this present.
In patience, I wait for this presence throughout the day and invite it every hour into my awareness with the words with which the day began, concluding it with this same invitation to myself.
Yeah.
God's voice will answer, for he speaks for you and for your Father.
Perfect love's voice will answer, for it speaks for me and for my source.
He will substitute the peace of God for all your frantic thoughts, the truth of God for self-deceptions, and God's Son for your illusions of yourself.
It will substitute the peace of perfect loving awareness for all my frantic thoughts. The truth of perfect loving awareness is self-deceptions and perfect love's extension for my illusions of myself. And from the beginning,
From the top,
in patience, I wait for this presence throughout the day and invite it into my awareness every hour with the words with which the day began, concluding it with this same invitation to myself. Perfect love's voice will answer, for it speaks for me and for my source. It will substitute the peace of perfect loving awareness for all my frantic thoughts, the truth of perfect loving awareness for self-deceptions, and perfect love's extension for my illusions of myself. So it's just asking us in patience to wait for this presence throughout the day and invite this awareness in as often as we can. And invite our true self, and it will speak to us through our source.
Yeah, which is, a summary of how we're supposed to live our lives in this and practice this course. Whatever arises, we return our minds to this perfect loving awareness. For all my says my frantic thoughts. We all know what he means because we've been there. The ego is frantic and desperate and chaotic and confused, and the truth of God or perfect loving awareness for self-deceptions, and perfect love's extension for my illusions of myself. So when you're tempted to get upset and get angry and flustered and frustrated and everything else that the ego's invented, you bring it back to the truth and you restore your mind to this peace, the peace of perfect loving awareness. And that's the absolutely so practical benefit of following the course and these teachings. I moment and experience peace when otherwise you'd be spinning out and freaking out and getting upset and angry and various other forms of egoic upsetting emotions. This brings a peace and a calm, loving awareness that runs through your entire life if you just apply these teachings to everything that seems to happen in the day. Yeah, so any other thoughts on that?
No, go on.
Lesson? Yeah. What strikes me, that we do these lessons, that's so immensely profound, and everyone is like that, just this profound truth and wisdom, and the whole course is contained in here, and you could live your life by this one lesson. And it's just one lesson out of 365. So it's a pretty extraordinary course, really. We have a choice now, given we're talking about decisions. We can do a meditation on the lesson and end the session at about 9:30, or I'm happy to carry on. We can do some text, and then I'd suggest maybe we don't do the meditation. We could keep that till the end, because after meditation, everyone kind of really wants to tune out and go to sleep. So just to check it out, the little garden we're on today, that's it's quite a big one. It's 13 paragraphs. So do you want to take it on, or we'll just end the session and do a meditation on the lesson to end it?
I think I'd rather do a meditation and draw a
Yeah,
cloud.
yeah, me too. And
Close
do
it out.
the text
Yeah, well,
later.
13 paragraphs will probably take a couple of hours,
Yeah,
at least an hour and a half. So that'll take us to 11 o'clock. So quite late. Okay,
yeah.
so let's
Meditation.
there is a recording of this I'll send from a previous year, so in which you'll probably hear yourself, John. So
Yeah, good.
I'll send that out on the group. So yeah, let's close it out with a meditation then. Yeah, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting upright, your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. You cup your hands in your lap, or have your hands, palms facing upwards from your thighs. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So you're breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And clench your sphincter muscle used to contract the flow of urine, and lock the energy in that way. It's the root lock in yoga. If you've done any yoga, you'll know what I mean. Mula Bandha, they call it. And just feel as you breathe in that there's a kind of warm, tingling sensation flowing up the spine into your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. And breathe in and draw the energy up, spine into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. Just smile. And we'll scan your mind. Is there any difficult thoughts or emotions, maybe a difficult decision in your life that you need to make? Remind yourself that power of decision is my own. I have this power to decide for truth against the illusion. So today, so breathe in again. I accept myself as what my source's awareness extends me to be. Original is accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. Accept my capital self as what my source's awareness extends me to be. Exhale on the truth of that. Have a sense of just letting go of your illusions, false beliefs, thoughts, emotions that go along with those. As you knew, letting them go, blowing them away. It's the breeze of your breath into the nothingness. That it really is. And accept yourself as this fundamental awareness, sources of awareness. In this moment, you are extended by that awareness. You are an extension of this awareness, kind of logically, because if you're in that awareness, you must be extended by that awareness. You are that awareness, in other words. I and my Father are one. This is what Yeshua taught. Father and I are one. And the ego says that's blasphemy, and the Holy Spirit says, no, that's the truth. And the ego is just a liar, a deceiver. So you wait in silence in this quiet, peaceful, silent state, giving up all self-deceptions about yourself and what you think you are, and humbly ask yourself, capital Self, to reveal itself to you, the Christ, your true self, your true identity, your true awareness, as it comes into your mind and your life and guides your thoughts, your words, your actions, your decisions. This is the Christ self, the Savior that has always been there, but needs to be invited in to your awareness. Self can't be there if you exclude it, if you use your mind to deny it. Instead, ask yourself, the Christ that you are, your true identity, to reveal itself. And this presence, which never left. Never left. Never left my awareness. In truth. Will come again. Into my awareness. Grateful to restore me to my true home in pure formless awareness, perfect love. As is meant to be. So let the words take you into this awareness. Deeper and deeper into this awareness. Each passing moment, with each breath. You breathe in and out through your nose. Use the breath to take you deeper into this truth. Sinking inwards to truth. Of who you really are. Your own true awareness. That is always there, has always been there. But just rest in this awareness. Nothing else to do. You do nothing. It's the message of a recent section we studied. I need do nothing. You need do nothing. Just be aware of this awareness. Rest in this awareness. Nowhere else to go. Nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax. Be still. Surrendering into this loving awareness. For a few minutes of deep, restful silence. Wait in silence for this awareness, this self to reveal itself to you. Give it that opportunity now for the next few minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back from this very deep state of awareness. You bring some attention back into your body and the breath and senses in the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale. Just be aware of your thoughts, your emotions, any related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limited, contracted, constricted. Remind yourself that the power of decision is my own. Breathe in on this truth. Inhale this power into your mind and into your life. So today I accept my capital self, my true self. It's what my source's awareness extends me to be. And you exhale on the truth of that, releasing any of these negative thoughts and emotions. Have a sense of extending this awareness of your true self outward. To the world, in your life and everyone you don't know, this entire human race and all the creatures, the animals, plants, to all life. When you accept this self, you accept eternal life for everyone and everything. And this acceptance radiates through the sonship, through the mind that we all share, through the one awareness, to remind this mind that of who it is, that it is one with its source. Is an extension of source's eternal life and loving awareness. And that's all it is. It's really the key message of today's teaching. Truth is true and nothing else is true. So only by deciding for the truth and letting go of belief in, attachment to, or illusions will you be able to come into consistent awareness of the truth. And only then can this truth really help you and heal you and bless you. So just set that intention to stay in the truth, to let go of all illusions, no matter how they show up, how they manifest. It's not actually that difficult to see them for what they are and let them go. So on the count of 2, just notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling, your hands and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind. State of mind which only the truth is true, in which you are aware of your own true awareness and nothing else. And so it is. So you keep this awareness with you for the rest of the evening on into your weekend. Practice today's lesson and the weekend, the lesson for the day, to bring yourself back to the same awareness. It's always the same lesson, really. Just lesson to help you let go of the falsity of the ego thought system and accept the truth again, who you really are. So practice well on the weekend, stay in this state of loving awareness in your true self, and let it guide all of your thoughts, words, decisions, and actions. So it is said and so it is done. And now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So just taking a moment to look around, observing the room around you in this very calm, detached way. Without judgment, without interpretation. The world just is very peaceful. So look at any object, notice this peaceful awareness. Hopefully you connected with quite deeply over the last 20 odd minutes. It's still there, even though your eyes are open. Look at something else. Notice that same awareness. Close your eyes briefly. Notice that awareness. Maybe a little bit more strongly when your eyes are closed, but the idea is to learn that this awareness is there, irrespective whether your eyes are closed or open. It's the same awareness, always. And this is your true awareness that the power of your decision can offer you moment by moment. So yeah, I wish you good practicing, keep deciding for the truth, keep letting go of illusions. That'll keep you in the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. And you'll have a very peaceful weekend, which is what I wish for you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you, John and Elaine.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
I'll
nice
see you. No
holiday.
session on Sunday, but I'll see you on Monday, hopefully.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're going on holiday,
Join.
aren't you? Maybe.
No, only next week. Next week. In fact, week after next, Monday the 29th. So next
Oh,
week.
right. Oh, well, I'll be in the UK then. So, yeah. Right. That's
Okay.
great. See you Monday.
I'll see you Monday afternoon. Yeah.
Yep. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Thanks,
Bye.
John.
Namaste.
Okay. Namaste. All right. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you to Lynn, Elaine, and John who joined the session. Great session. If you enjoyed that, then you can do a couple of things. You could subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified whenever I go live, which is typically 3 or 4 times a week. Be notified by YouTube, and you can listen to the recordings if you can't watch the live stream. Secondly, you can go to lifebuild.com and just that'll you'll be able to sign up to receive the daily quote and the lesson for the day, as well as some teaching around that and a short meditation or breath break to help you practice the lesson in interpreted form or translated form. And you'll be notified about the live sessions, so you can, and you'll get a link to join these, so you can join us in one of these sessions via Zoom. So head over to lifebuild.com to do that now and sign up to receive that information via Telegram, completely free. And I hope I'll see you at some point in one of these sessions. So thanks for watching or listening. and I hope to catch you soon. Namaste. Which means the truth in me acknowledges and honors that same true self, Christ self in you. And wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that self.